Good afternoon on what is a mild, grey and blustery day. It is Thursday the 6th of October and I've got a pile of parcels to unbox and a nice hot cup of tea. And I am pinned to my seat by the cat, who is not ours. And the next thing I'm going to unbox is this. Comes on a bit easily, and inside is this. For players of the Call of Cthulhu fantasy role-playing game Polaris Issue 1 from the summer of 1987. So this is 35 years old, and back in 1987 this would have cost you 50 pence. So this is actually new to me. I've not come across this fanzine. Now, there were numerous sort of fanzines devoted to various games throughout the 80s, and the leading Call of Cthulhu fanzine of the day would have been Dagon. Dagon itself is still very collectible. Issues can be quite expensive. A complete collection can actually set you back hundreds, if not thousands of pounds. But let's have a look inside this. And we open up with editorial and list of the contents, and we have open up the Lamp of Al-Hazred, product reviews by Andy Smith, and a review of Green and Pleasant Land. Now, Green and Pleasant Land is the first source book for Call of Cthulhu, dedicated to the United Kingdom, published by Games Workshop back in the day, and it's very accessible, it's very portable, and it's very playable. It still stands up today for the most part, you know, given its relative length. And then we have optional rules for Call of Cthulhu, and essentially rules for crash landings and coming a cropper in your when you are in your aeroplane. So you can, I mean, obviously the fanzine, it's fairly obvious in its production values. You know, it's done in Courier New. You know, that kind of typeface. It would have been typed out, and it's quite dense in its text. Whereas, you know, it's not. The thing is with this, it's, as a fanzine, it's not punkish in the sense of it's laid out like a small magazine in an orderly fashion, rather than necessarily being artfully or haphazardly organised. So we have various examples of play in there. Then we get into the Heat in the Street, which is a Call of Cthulhu scenario designed for a small group of player characters who run their own detective agency. That's kind of one of the default setups, if you think really in Call of Cthulhu, because one of the default and Lovecraftian characters is the detective, well, certainly the private detective. So this runs from prologue, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, all the way up to chapter 5, and this is sort of like a detailed outline rather than a full scenario. We do have a sort of like a discussion of little mythos tone there, and it's second edition, and we keep going because it's actually multiple parts. So chapter 6, 7, all the way up to chapter 8. You know, complete with a short epilogue and guidelines for expanding the adventure there, and handouts. And what's interesting about this is you have a look at the layout, and certainly with things like that, you this is really sort of like the dawn of the desktop publishing age for the casual user. If you had dedicated a decent computer and software, you could do fairly good desktop publishing layout, and organise the contents of your page, because we did it back in the day with a fanzine that we created for Skyrealms of Jarun. Just wouldn't necessarily say what the scenario is about, because it doesn't kind of have what you would call a proper outline. But we have 12 more dying gangland slayings and city crime boss found dead in trunk. So we have it involves crime and the criminal underworld, and over the years there have been lots of scenarios involving the criminal underworld, whether that's playing as members of the criminal underworld, typically being tied in with bootlegging. That's quite a common one, because it's a feature certainly of the Jazz Age. And then solving crimes on the other side, as you would expect. Then we have Fear is the Key, first part of the Keeper's Law series, which is intended to be an ongoing series. It's just quite short. And then we get on to the Dark Brotherhood. Basically, we'll look at the various character professions available to players of Call of Cthulhu. This time around, it's authors. And it's interesting that with a lot of role-playing games, you kind of focus upon some of the focus is always upon what you can play. And Call of Cthulhu is kind of different in the most part. It's sort of like, it does list lots of options, but really they just provide you with skills, and then role-playing elements are sort of like, I'm a journalist, so where would I know, professionally, where would I know to go and do this, or who would I speak to, that sort of thing, rather than actual abilities. Call of Cthulhu is very much a skills system, skills and fear system. So it's interesting to see what the author here actually makes of the author occupation back in 1987. Then we have Illuminating Manuscripts, another planned regular feature, and this is looking at a particular book such as Kafat Akodat Dingen, or the Gahan fragments. And here we have sort of like one of the issues with, if you have a look there, is that it's beginning to fade off the page. So you can see it's not quite as clearly printed as it could be, but we do have a similar sort of like treatment across the other side. Here, looking at the two particular Mythos tomes. And one of the things that Call of Cthulhu has never quite done is really, it did a little bit in the Keeper's Companion volumes, both very good books to get if you're running Call of Cthulhu, because the content is still useful, but really examine what's in the books, what they contain, what spells they should contain. They can contain any spells, but if you would, what's the default, that sort of thing. So here we have an examination of those two books. Poetry, always a feature of Call of Cthulhu, usually typically horror poetry, of course. You would get that in the back of the Cthulhu Companion, and we have a look at Kabbalism and the Kabbalah. Again, a subject which has been examined again multiple times by authors for Call of Cthulhu. There are sort of like a range of different subject matters that sort of like keep being examined. So, look, another article about the Thompson submachine gun, excellent. And the Kabbalah is one of them that's been examined several times, and even comes into play in a scenario or two. Then we have the Acolyte of the Ultimate Gate, which is essentially a companion to the Secret Doctrine, an actual proper scenario. So yeah, even down to that, having even a location complete with a little house for the player characters, or a lodge house for the player characters or investigators to actually go and investigate. And we have a couple of handouts there, including sort of like a proper scruffy written letter. Again, you can see what you really could do. You were beginning to be able to do with the basics of early desktop publishing. And then at the back we have adverts, and interesting sort of like we have an advert for Kiwanicon, and we have classifieds there. Advert for the convention there. Many people may well recognise that. Paul Mason, who is a role-playing designer and writer from the 80s, involved with White Dwarf, wrote a fighting fantasy book or two, and so on. Interesting to note, the address is here in Birmingham, and it's in Erdington. I could literally walk to that place if I wanted to. So yeah, that's Polaris, fanzine for Call of Cthulhu, British fanzine for Call of Cthulhu from the 80s, which isn't Dagon. Interesting to have, interesting to read. I'm going to look forward to reading and reviewing this in the near future. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this unboxing of the Nook. If you have, please do click on the like button down below, and of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings of the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a parcel containing a book or game, in this case a fanzine, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.